the way to use the symbol from one file in another file if you have both files currently open. So we can see I have my fancy bird file here open. And then I have my in-class file that we're working on. If I want to add that fancy bird to this file, in my library window, I can see where I can choose the library of the other file. And then it's as simple as drag and drop. And now that artwork moves from one file to the next. And now, notice that in the bird file, the animated bird was called bird. And if I look at the in-class file that we're working on, we can now see it added that to my library. So now that bird exists in my library. And now if I test movie, we will get to see the bird fly in. And actually the size of the bird in front of the house, that kind of works okay, the way it comes in front. I just need to make the bird, once the house comes in, either turn or fly off screen or fly off into the distance and just disappear.
You said with two open.
So this is an instance of Cloud 4. Right here I've clicked on it on screen, click off, click on instance of Cloud 4. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to take and create another movie clip with Cloud 4 selected. I hit F8 on the keyboard, and this will be my Cloud 4 animation. Now, if I look on stage here, visually I can't see that anything changed. If I double click on it and go into symbol editing mode, I see I'm now in the Cloud 4 animation movie clip. And if I click on this, I see that is now within that an instance of Cloud 4. Because I want to now just put this self-running loop of my cloud moving across the stage in my movie. So now I can right click and say create motion tween. And clouds move really slow, so we'll give this a really pokey kind of speed. And I'm going to go back to frame 1. I want frame 1 to start off stage. And we'll go to the end of this. And if I zoom out, it'll be easier to move it. Hold down Shift, move it across. So there is now my cloud, and it will move in a pokey manner across the stage. See, and look at that. Okay, so now if I go back to the main movie, and if I turn off the other clouds, and we can see here is my cloud. Now if we take Cloud 4 and just let this exist for a while, okay. A few problems going on there. What are my problems?
It's going in front of the house.
The cloud went in front of the house.
Moving too fast, maybe.
It's moving way too fast. So I need to give it more frames to cover that much distance. But we also can see that it's going to have to be behind the bird, so the cloud is going to have to be in front of the mountains but behind everything else. Now if I go into that and see, here it is. Now we can stretch this out. I can just test my movie from here, and we can now see now I don't really like how that's looking right now. I don't like the direction it's going or movement. I almost feel like the cloud needs to move in the opposite direction. So I could physically go and adjust each position of the cloud, but if I right-click on my tween, not in the artwork, but on the tween, I will see that I can then choose reverse keyframes. Now, so I have to remember when I'm recording, don't walk away from the microphone, but it's bad habits go bad. So the tween is the frames on my timeline. I didn't click on my artwork, I clicked on the timeline, the tween span. Right-click, scroll down to the bottom, and I will see reverse keyframes. And that now means my cloud, if I go at the beginning, it's going to start on this side, and it's going to move that way. And it's still going to need some tweaking, but it's now a loop that I can play with. Now, if I don't want to do my cloud that way and want to do it manually, I can also just manually move the clouds based on what's going on with the rest of the timeline. Because right now I run into the same bird flapping scenario. I don't get to see the cloud moving because it's a movie clip. So to counteract that, we're going to animate now in the main timeline. So to insert a new scene, I go under the Window pull-down menu, and I need to find my scene panel. And I do that under Window, Other Panels, Scene. And when I pull that, it comes up with this silly little scene panel. Now, when I see that, there's a page icon, the same way there is in the Layers palette of Add a New Layer, there's Add a New Scene. So if I click on that, it adds a new scene, and watch what happens to my timeline. My timeline now says I am in Scene 2, and we can see there are no layers and no frames. So I'm going to dock my scene palette here so I can come back to it later. And now that I have done that, I'm going to go grab this room that I had there, stick that on the stage. Now I'm having a problem that I can't see where the boundaries of my stage are, because my guide is in Scene 1. So I'm going to go over to Scene 1, copy it, bring it over here. So if I go into Scene 1, select my guide, copy it, relock the guide layer so I don't mess it up. Now I can quickly up here choose Scene 2. In Scene 2, I am going to edit, paste in place, which will put that guide where I copied it from. It will use the same X, Y coordinates. Lock that, turn this to a guide layer. And now I am ready to animate this scene. So now, with this here, if I extend this out, and now say on my scene, create motion tween, it extends it out for however many frames I want it to be. And I am going to do a tilt up. So it's just going to move up. So now that I have done this, I'm going to save, test my whole movie, and we will see that the initial animation goes by. The main timeline interior will then come up. And then as soon as that's done playing, then we went into the new scene. And we can see that there was a stretch of gray occurring at the end because it added in these frames where there is no artwork. So then we had about a second worth of emptiness that we had to suffer through. So if I don't want those frames, because if this one is done, highlight, Shift F5, they go away. So you can use scenes, or you can use the main timeline.